Okay, let's get started here. So welcome everybody to our weekly Law of Attraction Roundtable call, and happy Labor Day to everybody. This is a Labor Day Monday, so I'm glad to see we got some people on the call tonight. Appreciate you guys coming on board here. So my name is Kevin Young, and my wife Suzanne, who just popped into the window there, will be facilitating our discussion tonight. Our company is Personal Success Programs, and we host webinars and workshops and coaching programs, all based around the universal law of attraction. We're located in a suburb of Detroit, Michigan, in a city called Novi. We host these free online calls every week as a way to build a global community of law of attraction practitioners like you guys. So we believe that the more people who understand the naturally occurring law, then the better it's going to be for everybody. And so we're glad you guys are part of our little community here. So a little housekeeping, just relax, be comfortable, nothing serious going on here. We're going to have some fun, we'll answer some questions, and hopefully have some good conversations. So this is a participation expected environment. So if you have any questions, comments, you just want to chime in on something, that's what we're here for. Outside the 10 minutes that I'm going to start off with, it's open forum. So please bring whatever questions or comments you got. There's a raise hand button on your computer screen, and if you're on the phone, there's no raise hand button, but just speak your name up if you want to ask a question or have something to say. Keep yourselves muted if you don't mind. You have the little microphone as the mute button on a computer, and it's *6 for phone callers to both mute and unmute yourself. Toggles it. If you got something you want to share, just say your name first and jump right in, and then we will acknowledge you. The workshop is being recorded tonight, as always. There'll be an email with the recording, and it'll be up on YouTube in a few days, so you can always review it then. And all the past recordings back to May are also on YouTube, so please feel free to jump on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Personal Success Programs, and you will find us. Hearing some echo there. I have a phone caller. Please hit *6 to mute yourself. Okay, sounds like I'm in a tunnel. I'll hit the mute button here. Okay, I've muted everybody. So you'll have to unmute yourself if you want to participate here. And most importantly here, please have fun here tonight, because this will be a deep discussion, but it only goes as deep as you guys go. The deeper you go, the more you pull through us, and the better the answers will be and the better the conversation. So trust yourself and say what you got to say. Our calls are always held on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for more information about us, it's personalsuccessprograms.com. All right, let's get ourselves kicked off here with the 10-minute topic for today, which is how to ask empowering questions. So I'm pulling some segments out of a 90-day business coaching program that I'm kicking off in October, and I wanted to give you guys some highlights of some tips from that. So if you're not a business person or you're not planning on attending, then at least you get some of the benefit from the call here. And everything's based in the law of attraction. Everything that we do, so this all ties in. And these techniques, through the empowering questions, you'll find to be a great way to open up conversations with people and build trust and so forth. It's one of the coaching staples that we use, and it can be very helpful. So what is an empowering question, you might ask? Well, an empowering question is designed to assist the person who's being questioned to feel better about themselves or to encourage their own self-awareness. In the law of attraction terms, it's a way of assisting somebody who's asked for help, that's a key part there, to find their own alignment through self-discovery. If you may recall, in law of attraction, alignment is the process of training our thoughts so that they feel good using our emotional guidance. And everything good comes from us, from law of attraction to us, by being in alignment ourselves. So it's a very important thing to develop on our own, but sometimes we need help with other people. This is your way of helping someone else find their own harmony, which just makes your life easier too if you're around them. So it is one of the techniques that we learn in coaching. It's a real staple in the coaching, ICF coaching, International Coach Federation coaching, that I have my credential in. It's one of the most powerful tools that I use on a daily basis in both business and individual clients. It's probably the largest factor in a client finding their own way to their own goals. And so this will be very helpful if you decide to use it. There's many forms of empowering questions, but they all start with the intention to explore the subject that's brought forth by the other person and to help them go to more depth and to do it without judgment or expectation of outcome on your behalf. This is a difficult thing to do if you're used to having lively conversations with people, to detach yourself, but it's amazing when you can do that, and it really helps the other person. So why do we ask empowering questions? Well, it assists others in finding their own answers, which always feels good. And as we said, that's alignment, and sometimes people can't find it on their own. And it's an interesting thing that we all, including myself, tend to jump in when somebody has a problem and try to solve it for them or help them solve it by kind of suggesting things. And the delicate thing about that is that you can very easily push them even further out of alignment than they already are. Even though you may have the best of intentions, oftentimes by doing that, it can potentially push them out of alignment, because your answer might not be their answer, but they might feel obligated to agree with you or to say, okay, yeah, I'll do that, which that actually disconnects them even more. So it's really important to allow other people to find their own answers, and you find your own answers with assistance. But you got to be really sensitive to the energy that's going on when you're trying to assist somebody else. So in that case, then, what it does is it builds trust with other people, because they don't feel judged when you're asking these open, supportive questions. You're not trying to force feed information into them, but rather helping them help themselves. And if you believe in how the law of attraction works and your own guidance, then you know that everybody has perfect internal guidance. We all have access to the 99% of our own inner being, which is pure energy, pure love, and has the visual access to everything that we want, and all we have to do is tune into it. So we want to help them help themselves to tune into their own guidance, and they'll always have success if they do that. And it also helps us to feel good about being of service to others, because what better way is there than to help somebody to feel good about ourselves than to help somebody else feel good about themselves? So where can we use these questions? Well, you can use them with anyone with whom you've received permission to ask questions in the first place. So family, friends, coworkers, staff, if you're in business, it's really powerful with staff members and coworkers, even clients, to help them feel more supported by you and to help them find their own answers instead of you being the problem solver. You can even use it with strangers if you're someplace where somebody's having a difficult time and you can tell. You ask permission to ask what's wrong and to support them. You'd be surprised. Just a couple of questions can help get somebody right back on their way. All right, so and then to wrap up here with this, I'm going to give you 7 tips on how to most effectively ask empowering questions. So first, always ask permission to ask the questions. Never force feed your opinion, even in the form of a question. To simply ask, hey, is it okay if I ask you a few questions that might help? Second thing is to always ask from a place of curiosity. Never have any judgment. Third, which ties into that, always ask from a place of detachment with no expectation. So that we like to say coaches are a blank slate. We have no charge around our questions. Always ask open-ended questions so that we're not pushing them in a direction. Open-ended questions have no specific answer. A closed-ended question has a yes-no answer or a list of a few things that it can only be. And that kind of closes down exploration. So I always want to ask an open-ended question, like, how do you feel about that? No closed-ended on that one. Always trust your instincts, not your logic. Truly inspired questions will always be helpful to the other person if you just trust your gut. And then never use the why word when opening a question, because that can come across as being criticizing. So for instance, if you say, why did you do that? It always comes across as being an attack, whereas if you said something like, what do you think your reason was for doing that? It's a lot softer approach. It's the same question, but the words have a different meaning in our society. So don't start with why. And then finally, remember the goal is always to help them feel good through creating their own awarenesses. Not that you can't suggest things, but asking questions kind of keeps you out of the mix. And it's such a rewarding thing when somebody has an awareness in a short amount of time, just because you help them help themselves. It's one of the best feelings in the world. It's one of the reasons I love being a coach. So a little exercise you can do is practice with a friend to start off with. Just take turns asking questions for 5 minutes each, let's say. And before you get started, just think of a few open-ended questions to get started. And then now you'll have a few questions, and then the more you ask questions, the more it'll start to naturally come to you. Just trust your intuition, have no charge around them, and see where it goes. And you might have a lot of fun. And then one other thing I'm going to toss at you, and then we'll wrap this segment up, is the questions only game, which is a lot of fun to play. It's a way to practice thinking about questions in a conversation only. And the secret is you have each other, you can have as many people as you want in the game, and you have people on either side, and you just ask questions and try to have a conversation, but only using questions. You can't answer with a straight answer. You have to ask another question around the subject, and it's a blast because it's almost impossible to do. There's a show called Whose Line Is It Anyway, which we've watched religiously for years, which they do this game, and it's hysterical. So a lot of fun to play and give you some insight on asking questions. All right, that's it on asking empowering questions, and certainly we can talk about that as much as you guys want to on the calls here. So I'm opening up the phones now. I'm going to unmute. Let's see if there's any background noise. I don't hear myself in a tunnel, so I think we're doing good. All right, so who wants to jump in, has a question or a comment? Go right ahead on this or anything else. Or maybe you have a success story in Law of Attraction you just want to share with us. And don't be shy. We got plenty of people on the call, so we want to hear what you have to say. Or if you just want to tell us about your Labor Day weekend, that'd be good too. I hear background noise. That means somebody's wanting to ask a question or to say something. Go ahead and jump in. And Suzanne, I don't know if you have any comments on the questions while we're waiting.
Well, I was, can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good.
I was taking notes, and number 3, the third tip, I didn't get a chance to write that one down. What was that?
Okay. Always ask from a place of detachment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with no expectation about the answer. This is arguably one of the trickiest techniques in coaching to master, because we're so geared to give advice and to want to tell people what we think, and we always do it from a good place to help somebody out. But the asking of the questions is a very difficult thing to do at first. But once you get the hang of it, what happens is the burden sort of leaves you to have to solve their problem. All of a sudden, the other person is doing the work, which is the only thing that works anyway. And then you can just be in the moment and be with the person holding the space and supporting them with energy and your intention to help them out. And then things become magical after that point. Anything else on that? Suzanne, you didn't have anything else? Okay.
Not really, other than I love asking questions. I've never, because I haven't taken the coaching training you have, I've never heard the 7 tips, and now I see what an expert you are at that, because I've heard you coach people in it. And this flows really easy for you because you've practiced it for years, and I love taking the notes on it. I love asking questions all the time. That's more fun for me that's how the Law of Attraction brings like-minded people to me, because I'm so curious to hear what they're thinking about. And of course, it always lines up and brings a nice co-creative discussion, because I'm eager to know what they're thinking and what they do, and vice versa. It turns around and we have a great discussion. But I like this idea of the 7 empowering steps to remember.
Yeah. It's very helpful even for me to review when doing this, because I'm going for my next level coaching credential and getting into the details, remembering the mechanics of how all this works, even though I use it regularly. It really reminded me of some things I should be doing better. It was very helpful for me. So who wants to jump in? You got a Law of Attraction bit you want to talk about? Maybe something that's on your mind, or maybe you just want to practice asking questions. I'd be happy to play around with you, or maybe coach you through something if you've got something on your mind. I can ask you a few questions and you can see what it feels like, and then if you want to practice it, you can do that. What feels good to you guys? Who wants to jump in here? And a quiet group. Oh, there we go. So I see Katie, and then we'll have Liz. Go ahead, Katie. Good to hear you on the phone. You have to unmute yourself. By the way, guys, unmute yourselves before you start talking. We
Tell
can't
them how
read
to
your
do
lips.
that in case they
Yeah, so
forget.
the little microphone icon, yeah, just click that. There you go.
Hi,
Hey,
Kevin. Hi, Suzanne.
hey
Hey,
Katie, how was your holiday?
Good, good. I had a great day.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add something about asking questions. It kind of ties into it, but something I found that is really, really helpful for me, and it seems to take a lot of people up with me at the same time, is that sometimes when if I'm in a bad mood or something's going on that's not great, I'll be tempted to jump on Facebook and post about it just to kind of vent, get it out there. And something I've been practicing lately is that when that happens, instead of doing that, I get on there and I ask a question. And I just ask everybody, tell me what's going great in your life, or tell me what you appreciate about today, or, something like that, because then that makes me start thinking about those things for me. But then it's awesome because a ton of people will reply and they'll tell me all these great things, and then they're happy. And then I have people that will be like, this is a great idea, I'm going to do it. And then it kind of carries on and on. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that sometimes asking a question can be a super uplifting experience, and for you and for other people.
Yeah, boy, that is so brilliant. It's a perfect use of understanding of law of attraction because it's easy. I mean, I do it myself. It's easy to just want to get it out and vent, and which is a good thing to vent. And as you know, in the public forum, then whatever you put out gets multiplied back, and law of attraction then amplifies that back, and that's not what any of us want. We're kind of trained to do it. But what a great idea to ask a question which just opens it up to the world. And I've seen some of your posts and the people that respond, and wow, what a cascade of positive energy. So even if you're feeling bad, then they're gonna bring you up if you're reading the comments.
well,
That's
that's
really
great.
wise.
Great way to switch it up, knowing you're in a negative place or you're frustrated over something, and then to put a positive question on there, knowing how the law of attraction works, which you're so good at. It's going to bring positive energy back to you. Good job.
Yeah,
I've watched
thanks for
them too, and I think it's a lot of fun to watch how you switch it up, and I love that.
Thank you.
yeah, you're uplifting the
All
world.
right. Thanks, guys. You too.
Yeah. All right. So wonderful technique there. So I saw Liz's hand up. Liz, did you have something you wanted to jump in and add or comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just jumped on, so I didn't hear all the questions. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you for the amazing flip-and coaching session we had. It was off the hook.
Thank you.
It was, oh my gosh. Started with something insignificant and ended up with changing my life. And Kevin, I love you to death, and thank you so much for what you do. And staying in that gentle, I guess the best word for me is that you're so gentle, that it's such a positive place to talk with you. But anyway, it's a safe place. So I'm safe here, and thanks a bunch. But what I was going to say is I really learned a really great technique this weekend. I went to the dog show with some fabulous friends, and I noticed this young girl that I love and adore, and as she met new people, she gave them a compliment.
Wow.
And it was so amazing just to see her energy and her love. And, I'm just going to say it, this young girl, and she was heavy set, and she wasn't maybe the most beautiful person because of her figure, but her face was gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And Jessica, my friend, was introduced to her, and she just looked at her immediately and said, "You are so beautiful." And
Wow.
I love that, I love that perspective, to see people whole and complete. And I'm practicing that now. I was impressed because this girl's only like 20 years old, and she is just full of grace and love. And it's a great way to show love.
You bet. Well, appreciation and love are at the top of the emotional scale. So she got that figured out. What a great approach to life to find the appreciation and see the love in other people and then express it. And it's not what we're trained to do. Definitely not what
No,
we're trained to do.
but not to see, the girl does not see the fault. I mean, as I was raised, and a lot of people I know, you look at the fault. You don't look at the positive immediately. And how great is that? I
Yes.
want to see people whole and complete. And so that they come to me whole and complete, and that everyone in my life is whole and complete. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it's great that you say that, Liz, because it's one of the things that we're trained early on as a coach is that we're not in the job to fix people because nobody's broken. But we certainly are used to seeing the problems, which I think are just by looking through the filter of our own expectation, our own beliefs, we're looking at ourselves as a mirror through other people. So we actually are criticizing ourselves and looking for the faults there. So what a great technique to look at other people with that love and appreciation. Because it makes me wonder if by doing that, then we're not going to reflect that back on ourselves and start to feel that appreciation for ourselves as well. What do you think, Liz?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's really interesting. I like that.
well, you
You know,
evoked it.
I went to breakfast this morning, and it was this big, okay, huge, tall African American woman with the prettiest face and the best attitude and just beautiful inside. You could feel that. And I just said, "You are so beautiful." And it
Mm,
changed her day, and it really changed my day.
wow. Wow.
Appreciating others that step into your life. And
Yes.
isn't it about every day? Isn't it? Okay, not every day. Isn't it about every moment? The just keeping in the flow. That's my biggest struggle, and
Mm,
I think a lot of ours is just to keep in the positive flow and to see the good things. If we can't see them in ourselves, then we look outside, and boy, it made me feel great to
mm.
tell her she's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you said, it's just a practice that we do. It's like anything. You're kind of unlearning what you learned as when you were a kid, all the criticism, and Suzanne and I both experienced plenty of that in subtle ways as we
Yeah,
were
me
growing
too.
up. Yeah, and it takes time and a willingness to feel better. But boy, by doing it, you just build a momentum, and then law of attraction becomes your friend and starts reflecting you back. And Liz, you are a shining example of love and appreciation to everybody. So
But
we certainly feel
don't
it.
you want those people around you all the time? I do, and
Mostly,
and
yeah.
so I want to attract amazing people around me all the time. We
Hmm.
have friends, but dang, we have soul sisters and brothers, and that's what I want around me. And so
Yeah.
by seeing people whole and complete, by making those comments, when it the first few times it took some energy, it took some stepping out of my comfort zone
Mm.
to say, when she said, "Did you want more coffee?" And I said, "Yeah, and you know what? You're beautiful." And she just,
Mm.
"Oh, thank you." But for me to just say, "Yeah, you're beautiful," did take some effort. It
Mm.
really did.
Well, good for you for putting it in and making it
Yeah.
And
happen.
I love your hair, Suzanne. It looks great long.
Oh, it is getting longer, but I'm liking it too. I feel younger. I don't know if I look younger, but I feel
Okay,
younger.
you're hot. You look great.
Mm.
Liz, what you were saying, I love this. I've heard this from Abraham Material a lot, and I see it all the time. So many of us are raised not to love ourselves, to be critical of ourselves and judge
Yeah.
ourselves and so forth. And so one of the ways you can just start to switch the energy, change the energy in you, is to start appreciating other people, other things. Just start seeing things that you can say, "Oh, you're beautiful," or "Oh, what a gorgeous tree or a sunset. As you begin to focus on things that do look appealing and loving to you, and you let yourself feel it, that energy will go ahead and come back to you, helping you lift your own spirits about yourself. And the more you're focused on putting that out in the universe, and don't worry about how am I ever going to get over my negative self-talk, just let that go and start loving everything that lights you up. It will definitely come back to you and help you begin to start, accepting yourself fully. It's a process, but I know I had to go through it, and I know that's a helpful, it helped me to realize I don't have to just suddenly love myself. I can just start with things outside of myself, seeing them off and building the momentum and getting that energy going out to the universe so it comes back, which has nothing to do with empowering questions, but it was just something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm like so off the track, but I listened to an Abraham thing today, and Abraham was asking this guy, he was talking about relationships, and said, how do you feel? And not you're in love with so-and-so, just how do you feel? And he said, he's in love. And I went, I'm in love. And then I started singing that song, I'm in love, whatever. And it made me feel great. And he went off into a tangent, but gosh, that was fun, not going like the whole way. I'm in love with this guy that said da-da-da-da and is perfect, blah, and give all the directions, just that little inch of I'm in love, and it feels so good. Or I'm happy, and it feels so good. Or I'm wealthy, and it feels so good. Just that little stretch was
beautiful.
Really great for me today.
Well, that's another good point that I want to amplify there. That we oftentimes, and I find myself doing it as well, and I know better, we often will start there. I feel love, I'm feeling abundant, whatever it is, and then we say, but, and then we tell it like it is, which is, I'm not really feeling that much love right now. I want to feel love. And then we cancel the whole dang thing. And it's a hard technique to break because we're taught to be realistic. Realistic just means things that have already happened up until now, because we're taught to tell the, quote, truth. Although there are many forms of the truth. There's many angles for the truth. There's many parts of the truth you can focus on. But the reality that we talk about needing to be truthful about is what we already created from our past thoughts. So we actually, facing reality and talking about reality is the worst thing. But it's difficult at times to break that. So I love that you didn't do that, Liz. You just said the feeling, and then you stopped there, and you just let it, you milked it.
And I started singing. I mean, if you get, it was so clear to me today that if you get a good answer from someone or you get a good thought, just stay on the thought.
Yeah.
My problem is that I go and try to plan out the rest of the relationship. I plan out the rest of my day, or I plan out the rest of the experience. And dang, girl, just stop and enjoy. I'm in love. Just that statement makes me feel good.
There you go.
I'm not in love with any person right now, but dang, that feels good.
Well, and you're setting up the point of attraction to bring him. That's the key right there. Yeah. And that's kind of it's a mystical thing, particularly to people who are new to law of attraction, the belief that I have to focus on the thing that I want specifically in order to manifest it. And the universe already knows all the things that would light us up, even more than we know typically, in more detail. And our only job is to feel good about any subject and to hold that feeling until the momentum builds up enough till we can start bringing the things that we want. So we don't even have to feel good about any specific thing. You just have to be on the frequency of feeling good in order to get the guidance that'll start to take you towards what you want. So you're doing it all just beautifully, Liz. You're modeling this so wonderfully.
Kevin, why is it that, just saying I'm wealthy is not good enough, or I'm in love is not good enough? and then my mind starts going into I'm wealthy and I own a yacht and I have why how do I stop that from, I mean, I'm trying and at work today, but how do you stop it from going from feeling good right now to this crazy planning of the future? Because I mean, it's crazy, really. Even planning the day. How do you stop that?
Stop. So what? So you say stop? You mean where you're starting to get into the details?
Right.
And do the details not feel good?
Well, by the time I get to the end of the road, no, they don't feel good. Like, oh no, I don't have the guy. He's not knocking on my door. He's not asking me to dinner. I don't have the yacht. When I could just, because I know this, that if
first of all, you're being hard on yourself. That'd be the first thing you could stop doing.
Imagine that.
Yeah, well, yeah, welcome to the club.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're not doing anything wrong. That's the first thing, because in the moment that we're having negative experiences, we're creating new desires and we're getting clarity. So that's called the step one part. And so that's good. So when we're not doing the thing that we think we should be doing, then we're getting clarity on what we want to do that will be better next time. That's where all desires come from. There isn't a desire that exists in our universe anywhere that doesn't come from the awareness of not doing what we want or having what we want in that moment. So that part is okay. And the second part then is caring about how you feel. That's how you stop. Right? So at some point you were feeling good, and then you started to go down some path that stopped feeling as good. And so it's just caring about the feeling more than the action, and then cutting it off. Now, a technique that I know you already know about that I'll say for the rest of the people on the call here, and that is that staying sort of general in your thoughts instead of going into, when you start to feel yourself get into details, unless the details are really, really feeling good, they will amplify whatever they're focused on. So the more focused we are, the more detail-oriented we are, the more amplification is going on. So that's why if we start to slip into a negative detail phase, it amplifies and builds very quickly, and we can get back right down to a dead end that we don't want to be down, vibrationally speaking. Does that make sense?
It does. It's like catching ourselves, catching myself on the next thought.
Yeah, that's all.
And being more aware of that when the next thought comes up. Thank you.
Yeah, and as I said, not being hard on yourself because you didn't catch the next thought in the nick of time.
Right, but I mean, I'm just trying to, I'm a perfectionist about this stuff.
Well, it's about time to give that up because you'll never get it done.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
We'll never.
Right?
Every moment is new.
Just doing better. I love it. I love doing better.
There you go.
And I have a new puppy.
Yay!
Well, that's pure love right there.
That's right. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, thank you, Liz.
Better than a puppy. Love you guys.
All right, yeah, we love you too. That felt good. What a great conversation about momentum building. And Liz doesn't give herself enough credit, in my opinion, for how good she really is at focusing on what feels good and then staying there. And she's just a joy to be around. Great demonstration. So we don't ever have to stay on the subject about whatever we're talking, whatever the 10-minute topic is, so we don't need to talk about questions. Anything that's on your minds about law of attraction or a situation that's going on that you just want to get a little clarity around, or a little coaching, if you want to play around with that, is open season. I know we have a few people on the phone as well. I'm going to, I think everybody's unmuted. Yeah, it looks like it. So who is next? Wants to jump in with a question or just a comment about what's going on here? What are your thoughts? Be sure to unmute yourself or raise your little hand there if you got something you want to participate in. It's an open forum. We love everybody's participation. You can't get it wrong here. You can talk about momentum building, what feels good to you, what would you like to feel better about? What did you feel good about on the weekend? What was your most fun thing on Labor Day weekend? For me, it was still having sunshine and being able to go outside and sit in a chair and getting some sun. I see somebody's hand up there. Gerda, go ahead. I
Yeah,
think you're on.
I have a question. I have a client and she is under terrific pain constantly. It's fibromyalgia or I don't know what it is. And it's when I try to tell her she should get out of this vortex, downwards vortex, but it is very, very hard. Maybe you can tell me how to have positive thoughts and when you are under cruciating pain.
Yes, that's a great question, actually. And Law of Attraction ties in with everything. And so how wonderful that you're there to help your client and provide this knowledge and this support for her. Is it her, the client? You
Her,
said?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Well, let's start with a little foundation about what pain even is, and maybe that'll help. And then I'll give you a couple of techniques that have worked for me and that we've shared with other people. So everything's about vibration, and I think you know this, but I'm just for everybody else on the call. So everything responds to the vibration that we're transmitting, and we transmit it by the focus that we hold in any given moment. We can tell how useful the vibration is to us based on how our thoughts are feeling, what we're focusing on, how it feels. It's the solar plexus has the guidance, the emotional guidance we call it. And so the more we focus on things that feel good, we'll have that feedback in our bodies, or in our solar plexus, which is where the emotions are detected. And when we go down the emotional scale, we start thinking thoughts that are out of alignment, that are our own 99% of us who's not in the body, our own inner being simply isn't looking at things in that way, then we feel bad. So it's basically a separation of frequency. So when we're thinking lower frequency thoughts, lower energy thoughts, then it's like a rubber band. There's a tension that starts to build up between our viewpoint and our own broader intelligence's viewpoint on whatever the subject is that we're thinking about. So that tension builds up, and over time what happens is that the pattern of the thought, all thoughts have these vibrations, these patterns, just like different patterns you might draw on a piece of paper. They have different frequencies associated with them. And what happens is over time the cells in the body start to reflect the pattern of the mind. So, and this has been documented in a lot of different books. Louise Hay is our favorite one. The You Can Heal Your Life book, or Heal Your Body is another one from Louise Hay, where she documents 100 various conditions like fibromyalgia and what the vibrational cause is. In other words, what's the thought process that is creating the fibromyalgia in sort of general terms. And I even have the app on my iPhone here, and I'm going to pull it up right now for you. And then we'll get into the pain part here. So I've looked this up before, fibromyalgia. Oh, you know what? I don't think it's in this app. I think it's in the book. Suzanne, if you happen to have the book, do you mind looking up fibromyalgia?
Okay.
We'll help out Gerda. So to continue the conversation then, so pain, all pain, no matter what's causing it, is an extension of negative emotion that's been unrelieved. And so then what happens is, of course, once something manifests that matches a negative emotion, now we feel it or we're looking at it, and then we continue to focus on the experience of pain, and then that amplifies the pain, and that's where all diseases come from. All negative physical conditions come from that same exact process. So the secret is to distract the mind long enough to start to give the person some relief. And when an illness is manifested like fibromyalgia for any length of time, then it is a more difficult process to get them started. But once they get started and start to provide themselves some relief, then they can perpetuate the process. And there's no physical condition that cannot be resolved by learning how to focus the mind in a way to provide itself relief. Even terminal illnesses can be eventually resolved by choosing thoughts intentionally over a period of time. Suzanne, did you find that?
It's not in the book, that specific fibro.
Really? Oh, okay,
Well,
that's
how do you
weird.
spell it? Fibro.
Yeah.
No. No.
Okay.
What would be another name for it? Autoimmune disease, but I haven't. That's not there either.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, the one thing that you can know for sure, Gerda, is that there's something that is very negative about the inner thought patterns. Katie says that it's in a different part of the book.
Oh, okay.
It might be under neurological conditions.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Okay. I'll keep
Katie's got
looking.
some awareness of that.
Go ahead and help her with the
Sure.
next thought.
Yeah, so the secret is and I think you're on the track, Gerda, already, is to help her to find some mental relief. Now, it's important to find physical relief too in the process, because you want to help alleviate the symptoms whenever possible in the physical body, because that helps the mind to get off the problem. But I know there's some illnesses that's hard to do. But the big secret is there's actually several approaches. One is to help them uncover what it is that they're really suppressing in themselves. What is the subject? And you may not be able to do it yourself.
That's what I'm doing. Trying to. What's the underlying cause? Why do I have why do I have the pain in my leg and what is the underlying cause? And trying to release one by one. That's what I'm doing. But if you and I tell her. Then at the moment when we're releasing those trapped emotions, her pain goes away. But as soon as when I'm off the phone, and a couple of hours later, she has a pain again, or at night, and it's very hard. Then I tell her about Law of Attraction and tell her but it's very, very hard to when you are really, really under big pain to think positive when you're really
Okay.
minus.
I hear you. I totally understand that. I've had people with some very severe illnesses in my coaching practice at times, and one of the most difficult things to do is to help them help themselves. And so I've got a few things on that. And then Katie came up with the answer for this, and we'll get to that in a second. But the first thing, and this is the hardest thing for you as the practitioner, Gerda, is you have to see your client as being whole and complete already. You have to see her without pain, even while she's talking about pain and complaining about pain and going through whatever she's going through. It's a most difficult thing to do, I'm telling you from my own experience, is to see them without the condition that they have. But we can't be much help if we don't do that. And I'm sure you're doing that to some degree. But it's just so easy to get sucked into their energy, and then we don't have anything to support them with. And so what I recommend is just keeping an eye on where you are on the. Are you familiar with the emotional scale, Gerda, from the Asking It As Given book by Abraham Hicks?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so typically any illness is somebody's going to be pretty near the bottom of that scale. And so we just want to check our own emotions, and if we're starting to feel frustrated, which has happened to me many times when I've been with somebody who's had an illness, and catch ourselves from sliding down into that energy along with them. And you'll find if you can maintain your energy at a higher place, then that you'll always be influencing people up. And it sounds like you're actually doing that. If she's getting relief while she's on the phone with you, then you're doing this. So nice job. So the next piece then is to help her to find the energy herself while she's on the phone with you. In other words, help her find the techniques herself, and then build up practices, and always reassure her that she's doing great. No matter what she says, she's doing great, and to help her to feel good about herself. Because you'll find that again, it's not about a specific focus necessarily. It's just helping them find other ways to bring their own vibration up over time, and then they start to get access to the one, whatever the thought pattern is that's holding her in this horrible place. Now, Katie looked up fibromyalgia, and it says a fear showing up as extreme tension due to stress. So do you know if there's something in her life which is causing her some extreme tension?
Not that I mean, she was married for a long, long time to a very, very dominant fellow, but he died, so that's out. And right now, no, not really. She has 4 children. 3 are in the United States, and 1 is in Chile, where she lives. And yeah, she's suffering a little bit that the kids and the grandkids are here in the States, and she's down in Chile. But otherwise, she is, I think, enjoying her life now without her dominant husband.
How long has she had the fibromyalgia?
Pardon me?
How long has she had it?
He said about 5 years, and her husband passed away 20 years ago, so that doesn't have any relationship with that.
Okay, so there's still something under the surface which she's
Mm-hmm.
either not aware of or she's aware of but maybe suppressing. So there might be some work around that.
Trying to find out and release.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe some of the empowering questions techniques that we offered up today, you'd be able to dive in maybe from a little different angle on your next session, and see if you can stay in a feeling of curiosity about whatever she answers and whatever things just go where your conversation takes you, because it sounds to me like you're a very intuitive, tuned in person. Am I right about that?
I hope so.
Well, you do energy work, is that right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So so that you're inherently you have a good connection to people at an energetic level.
I think
So maybe that.
yeah.
Well, maybe this is a great experience for you as a practitioner to tune more into that side of you and to see if you can start to tap into what's going on from a nonverbal energetic level. And maybe you'll start to pick up some answers. You'll just start to receive some answers as you tune in and just let your guidance ask the questions, and don't try to direct it, but simply when she says something, just ask a curiosity question that goes a little bit deeper and just see where it goes. My experience with coaching and that I've done, and as I tune into my own guidance, is if I can be a totally blank slate as to where I think the client should go, and just ask the next question that comes into my mind, then invariably I'm being guided by their own inner being.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I've made the energy connection to them, to their higher self, which knows what the problem is and knows what the solution is and is trying to broadcast it to her, but she's not listening because she's in a negative state.
Yeah.
But I can pick it up, and then I get to ask questions, and then I'll start to listen, discovering what happens invariably if it's a very deep thing, like what Liz was talking about earlier when we did all of a half-hour coaching session, but she was ready to release something, and she just couldn't find it, like most of us can't find our own blocks. That's why we need other people to assist. And I just went into the zone, and Liz and I have a very good relationship, and we easily fall into it. And I heard the answers, and I just asked questions around it until all of a sudden she tripped across it, and she had a huge release that she talked about here. And I feel that that's possible with you as well as you continue to do this work. Did that help? Is there anything else you can talk about?
I hope so. I hope you're right. Yeah.
I have an idea too, if you don't mind.
Yep.
One of the things that we learned through our own experience when Kevin had his brain tumor and he was in a lot of pain, we went to an Abraham Hicks seminar and really wanted answers, of course. And one of the messages Kevin personally got really is, in your pain, have hope. Because hope on the emotional scale is so much higher than hopelessness, which is what you're feeling when you're in terrible pain. So if somehow what I love she's experiencing now is she's getting relief by working with you, Gerda, which gives her hope. And that's why it'd be really cool just to continue to remind her there is hope for her. And even though you're in pain right now, we have relieved it, so more is coming. And the feeling of hope just eases the sharpness of pain a little bit if they can be reminded that there is hope, and there is, because she's getting relief by working with you.
Mm-hmm.
Something,
I don't know if that helps, but
something that just came into my mind, and I always honor them when they come into my mind, is you might try asking her in a very gentle way if she really wants to be healed. And obviously the answer is yes at some level. And then ask her what the benefits would be. to her if she were to become healed. And sometimes an exploration like that will uncover things. If you're tuned into her, you'll hear things in her voice. And that might be something about having to go get a job and she's scared to death of that. Or maybe she's afraid of getting into another relationship but desperately wants one because of fear of from the last. So something can come up through this process of just asking the questions and staying curious. That was just what popped into my mind.
Good idea. Yeah, yeah.
And if you want anything else offline, please get a hold of us. We're happy to take this further, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Good luck, Gerda.
For jumping in.
Thank you. Thank you. See you Wednesday.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you're coming.
Yep, I'm coming.
All right.
And a networking group for the rest of you who are on the call. So health is one of those ones that, boy, it's a tough subject because people, we take our bodies, as Abraham said, pretty much everywhere we go. So whatever you manifest in the body as a result of the thought processes going on, it's hard to overlook that. Like, we can ignore other things. We got people that bug us. We can avoid the people or situations usually. But our bodies, once something manifests in the body, there's just no place to run. It comes with us everywhere we go. And so it's easy to get into a negative spiral. That's certainly what happened when I got the brain tumor in 2008. Now, I tried different techniques, but we didn't know Law of Attraction then. We just had been introduced to it. And so we didn't understand, I certainly didn't, that the degree to which my thoughts were perpetuating this. And the more that it started to bother me, the more antagonized I got. And it just got to the point where there was no chance I was going to relieve it without the surgery. And then when I let go of the need to have the surgery, and that I was going to go through it and have the results of it, which included losing my hearing and some other things, which I was against. But once I let that go, within a couple of weeks, the right surgeon showed up, and we found out that instead of going to California, that Providence Hospital right here in our own home city did the most of these kinds of surgeries and east of the Mississippi. And as far as surgeries go, I had a relatively good experience and came out the other side just fine. So it was all about releasing the resistance that was causing the problem. It was a great catalyst, too, to get me on track and doing what I love to do now, which is what we're doing tonight in the coaching and so forth. So everything has, that has a negative side has the equivalent desire and the potential manifestation of something equal and opposite being much more positive. You just got to look for it and be intentional about that. Deep subject as always. Love these calls. Gerda, you have another question or comment? Go ahead.
Quick question. Let go. And you went through it, so I can. You're the right person to ask. You were in cruciate pain, number one, fear, number two. How do you let go in that situation?
I just had to come to terms with the fact that I might die if I didn't get the surgery.
Okay.
So there was just all of a sudden, I was starting to feel pain in the back of my head because the tumor was pressing against the brainstem. And I just had an awareness one day. And then, see, this is what we tell everybody. And you may not be able to tell this to your client, but it may come to that point where at some point, what we're doing to create the problem gets so large that it finally gets our attention and becomes clear what it is that we're doing, and that's when the shift occurs. As a coach, my job is to help people have that awareness sooner than later by asking the questions so that they can see, oh yeah, if I keep going down this path, maybe it's the way I'm thinking, it's the way I'm approaching something, whatever it is, if I keep going down that path, life is just going to get even worse, and I could kill myself inadvertently. And so I just had to have the awareness that, you know what, Kevin, you're just being an idiot about this. Okay, so you lose your hearing, so you have to go through surgery. You're going to die if you keep going down this path because you are not going to cure this on your own. You just don't have the ability. And in that moment of letting go of that grip I had on not having the surgery, just kind of breathed into it and said, okay, I'm going to just let go of control, and whatever comes, comes. Like I said, in a few weeks, we found somebody else who had just had the same surgery, and there's only 2,000 cases of this a year. It's a very, very rare tumor, which led us down all the paths that we needed to go down to get to all the right solutions.
Finally, it's a decision. It's a decision you make. I'm going to let go. There's nothing left else I can do but just stop worrying about it.
And that'd be another question. That's a beautiful question, Suzanne. You could ask her, what would it feel like if you just let go of everything right now? What if you just let go of any control that you think you have to have just for this moment, just in the call? How would that feel? And see if you can take them into the space of just free floating and trusting that whatever was going to work out was going to work out. Again, it's another way to help them help themselves let go of the perception that they have to be in control and to fight against or hold against or whatever it is that's going on. And sometimes, and this is the interesting thing about coaching, sometimes just doing that, a few questions like that around the problem, and they'll have their own awareness, which can be very large, and they'll realize, oh my goodness, it was because I've been holding on to this resentment or whatever it is, and then they get the relief, and then you just help them to get there a little more quickly. She'll get there eventually, but it may be through a lot more pain and suffering. But the good news is that she's already reached out and she's found you, and now you found us, so she's pulling the answers through us. So she's ready to let go of this. So you can count on all of this going in the right direction and just keep amplifying it. And I think you're going to help get her there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. That was very good. Both of you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Our pleasure. Glad to have people like you on the planet doing the energy work. We need it very badly.
Yes, we do.
All right. Great conversation. One of the best. All right, well, we're about out of time for today's call. That was a wonderful and wonderfully deep conversation around the law of attraction and how it affects us in the physical here. So let's start the wrap up here. Let's see, we've already done that. Yes, so enraptured here, I forget about the slides that I have here to put on, because nobody's looking at them anyway, I'll bet. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I will have for business owners and salespeople only, I'll be having a 90-day program that amplifies a lot of what we talked about today. And we get into a lot of details on how to fill a business full of perfect clients. This is for anybody who's in the sales position or an entrepreneur running their own business and you want to take your business to the next level. We use law of attraction techniques in combination with coaching techniques to get you there. So if it sounds interesting, you want more information, I only have 8 slots, and actually it's probably more like 5 right now left. Just contact me personally and we'll give you more information. You should receive the email with the recording in maybe an hour or so, and then we'll get it up on YouTube. Katie's our amazing assistant. You heard her voice earlier. She'll be getting that up on the YouTube in a couple of days or so, maybe even by tomorrow. And future calls, of course, will be on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you happen to be in the area, in the Detroit area, we have a Law of Attraction Foundations workshops, an all-day workshop coming up on Saturday the 17th here in about 12 days. And we also have our meetup group, which will be talking about how to attract more clients. We talk more Law of Attraction. That's Thursday nights, and that'll be on September 15th. So please join us if you're in the area and you want to have more discussion around Law of Attraction. If you want to talk to us, personalsuccessprograms.com is the website. You can also find us on Facebook by just typing in Personal Success Programs, and we should pop right up. And finally, if you enjoyed the call tonight, please like our Facebook page and share it with your friends. We'd love to spread the good word. If you have any questions, please get a hold of us anytime. We love to talk with people. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and have a fantastic week. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.